Well, so here I am live from Riga at a political event, a demonstration to try to preserve the Russian language school system. And one of the organizers here is standing here with me. He's an old acquaintance of mine, also a journalist in the past, covering IT stories, so we know each other from there. It's Degi Karayev. Can you explain, you've been one of the organizers of these things. Why are you here? The law has been passed, the president has signed it. It's not a bit of a hopeless cause.
I was organizer of the first meeting in October. All the other events being organized without me, but I was attending. And I absolutely and strongly believe that we have rights, and we are fighting to have these rights, because Latvia is our motherland. Latvia is our country, and we don't have any other country to live in. And I see no reason to close schools with Russian language here in Latvia, because it's natively preserved chain of schools where Russian language is used. And we have teachers, we have materials, we have experience, and government is breaking all these, trying to change everything in one moment, in a really short period of time, in 2 years. Same time, they are not giving any new materials, new techniques, new methods of education, which been adopted especially for people with other languages.
Transition time is 2 years, but the whole issue has been boiling here for 15, 20 years. Is that not enough warning that there was going to be a change?
Because it's Latvia is my country, and it's my home, and I'm feeling like a person who belongs to this country, and I see no reason to give up on my rights, because it's an absolutely natural right to have education on your native language. And even if officially Russian language for Latvia is not official, but de facto Russian language is native language for about 40% of population, so it is Latvian language as well, language of Latvia.
Do you have children in school?
Yes, my senior son is in 3rd grade.
Is he going in a Russian or a Latvian school?
Okay, let's say there are no Russian schools in Latvia. We have Latvian state schools with Russian language of education.
Oh, okay, that's what I meant. Yeah.
It's important because especially for English language, Russian means Russias.
No, okay.
But Russian is ethnically or language, nothing more. Yes, he is visiting school with Russian language of education.
Yeah, and you think he will be able to write a master's thesis at the University of Latvia, even after going through the Russian school system, if it was to be continued?
First of all, we have those schools are official state schools. They are studying using official methodics and materials, etc. They have required amount of Latvian language as well. And currently, as you can see, we have a lot of Russian people, even not so young, who are working in local government or state organizations successfully, and they do speak Latvian. It's not a problem. And for example, I can speak English. I never studied in English. And there is a huge difference to learn language or to study using this language. So if I can speak Latvian, English, and never been studying in these languages, why should we accept this argument? It's not an argument, it's a trick. It's a trick.
Okay. So there are about 300 people here, as we both estimated, maybe more now.
I can see that now it's maybe about 500-600 already.
Okay. But they are mainly older people. They could even be the grandparents of school
Now
children.
you can take a look, and we have really young people all around here, but weather is not the best, and people are hiding their faces. So
Yeah.
let's say
Now-
we have different people here, and parents, of course, also have right to protect their children. So
Now, the lady who's speaking is a rather controversial politician, Tatiana Zhanok.
it's an image which is given to her by nationalists. I had the chance to speak to her directly in person and to listen what she's talking, and her position is absolutely normal, because she's talking about equal rights. She's not talking about, I don't know, Russification of country or something like this. She's talking about equal rights, equal position, because we all are people born with two legs, two arms, or even with one leg, one eye, equal, white and black, Russian and Latvian. So I see
That is understandable, but,
Yes.
but as a figurehead for this movement, which should get the sympathy of at least Latvians, she's not a good person to have as a figurehead because of what most Latvians can think of her. There might be Latvians who would say, "Okay,
Yeah,
fine,
okay,
I don't care
okay.
about Russian schools." you
Of
know,
course,
and-
suddenly modern media techniques made monsters of us. So yes, maybe if we talk about media environment, she is just a monster. But
No, I mean, I'm not talking about her on the school issue. I'm talking about Tatiana Zhanoka is going to the Crimea and is taking the sides in that conflict.
it's I prefer not to mix different things together, because Crimea, United States are making stuff in Middle East, for example.
Sure, okay.
How it's connected to black people? How it's connected to rights of I don't know,
No, I get your
Native
point, I get your
Americans?
point.
So
But she brings that.
she's active. She's
If
active
there was
person.
a parent such as yourself,
Yes.
I don't know where your politics lie.
Let her speak. Let her speak about her stuff, and I won't comment. I don't know
Okay.
her, so I cannot connect.
Okay, thank you, Degi.
Thank you.
Pleasure to talk to you as always. And I will now. Of course, I don't understand what the lady is saying, but well, what can you just sum up what she said?
I spoke that time. I didn't.
Well, okay. What are we? So now these people are going to march to the president's palace, where well, yeah, he's in the States. He's in America. He's in Silicon Valley, a place of interest to both of us.
Isn't it strange that Latvian president is receiving recommendations from United States president directly? He's reporting, consulting. I thought Latvia is independent state,
Well,
but
so
it's
are the other
52nd
two
state,
Baltic
maybe.
presidents. Everybody. I mean, the Swedish prime minister was there a few days ago. Well, let us follow this, and I will keep the camera focused. So, on a rainy day, but it's a warm spring rain, which is better than the weather we've had here for the past few days. And then this crowd of, to be honest, a sprinkling of young people, but mainly older folks. One parent,
At least one.
who are going to go to the empty presidential palace, where there is nobody. And there are various signs being carried, and all of this is not moving very efficiently.
Так, друзья, становимся вперед, немножко проходим. Начало колонны, сдвиньтесь туда вперед, пожалуйста, не все помещаются. Сегодня президент находится в Штатах, но все, что здесь происходит, будет ему доложено и показано. Поскольку идет видеосъемка не только телевидения, но снимает также
People are
полиция. И
carrying
будут
on
отчеты
about
служб.
something in Russian. I have no idea what
Он
they're saying.
обязательно узнает, что мы о нем думаем.
But certainly 500-600 people, very few who I would say are high school
Да,
or
сегодня
school
Дональд Трамп сказал,
students,
что
older
не
folks.
стоит балтийские страны, что не хотят.
Well, concerned about their children, grandchildren, who knows what. But this is the way things look here in Riga, Latvia, on a relatively mild April day with a relatively mild rain falling. And as I said, not exactly the youngest crowd I've seen. Ready to march to just a few blocks down to the presidential palace of Latvia. Here we are standing in front of the Latvian War Museum and the so-called powder tower. Now here we go with the drums. These have become a kind of signature of this Save the Schools movement, call it what you will. There's drummers and again, all I can say, I mean, I look at this crowd and I say to myself, these people are one way or another concerned for their grandchildren. Jā, es Spāņu ziņu aģentūrai ziņoju šito notikumu, jā.
Tikai nemelo, kā jau parasti.
Well, no, found some weird hostile character here. So I think that means stop in Russian. Sadly, I have to say this could just as well be a march for pensioners' rights. So, well, there are a couple of kids carrying a sign, but it may sound nasty to say so, but as I said, this could be just as well a march for pensioners' issues as it is a march for school children. So, and the fact is that I have met a lot of people who have Russian names who are fluent in both languages and have no problems getting along here. So my personal opinion is that I have my doubts that this is really a serious and existential issue for anybody here. There's a growing younger generation of ethnically Russian Latvian citizens who are fluent in Russian, in Latvian and Russian and English, and indeed, interestingly enough, may be the most qualified for the sort of the objective conditions of the labor market here, where you really have to know those three languages in order to well, and here's the guy who is against this. If you don't know the language of the country where you live, and then it doesn't make much sense. It's a guest, an idiot, or an occupier who is forcing their language on whatever that means. So there we have that. There's a fellow videographer whose picture I don't want to step into.
Guys, мне.
Well, now there's some kind of agitation going on here.
Он не имеет права участвовать. Мы организаторы. Уберите его. Вы специально, сознательно провоцируете нас на конфликт. Ваша фамилия. Как ваша фамилия? Ковалев. Господин Ковалев, вы провоцируете нас на то, чтобы мы организовали здесь конфликт. Уходи отсюда.
Some kind of uproar is starting here. Now some woman is screaming at this gentleman that he's been paid to hold up the sign. And that was, of course, Mr. Gapunenko, who's a rather radical advocate of the whole Russian issue in Latvia. And sadly, I think of two Latvian kind of names for this whole process here. One of which would be balagans, which is kind of a, you know, circus, and the other would be Gaganukari. Gaganukari means kind of a senseless conflict over issues that really don't matter very much. And anyway, here we are marching to the empty Latvian presidential palace because the president of Latvia is in the U.S. right now. So I hope this is giving my English-speaking people outside of Latvia an insight into some of the more unusual, and I would even say, I'm a journalist. So wait. Do you have children in school here?
No, not yet.
Why are you in this procession then?
Because I'm Russian.
Well, I mean, you know, but why that does not necessarily mean you have to be in this. Are you afraid that?
Yes, I'm afraid.
That you're, you know, like.
I'm afraid of Nazis. Yes.
Are you afraid that?
Afraid of Nazis.
Well, wait a minute. We're marching for schools. We're not marching against crazy Nazis, which
We are. Yeah.
Yeah. But do you see? I mean, there are a lot of people that I know who I cannot not tell what nationality they are because they speak equally fluent in Latvian, Russian, and English. So.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Speaking both languages.
So is there not? As I was saying earlier, that there's a Latvian expression for kind of meaningless conflicts, gaganukari. I mean, are we not having a phase of that? And the other thing is, if you change the signs, if you were to change the signs and say better pensions for the people, the crowd could be kept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same crowd could be marching because there's a scattering of young people and there are some kids here, but there aren't too many
people because many people are at work at
Well, sure, no, but I mean there aren't too many. No, I'm saying this is about as many people as there have been at these other events, but there aren't too many young people. There aren't even people. They're like this is like the march of the grandparents, you know.
Yeah, but how you can see not only grand people
No,
came here.
of course I'm not denying that. I don't think you're anybody's grandparent yet, you know, for another 30 years. But do you think this can be reversed, or do you think it'll be a big disaster for the Russian population of Latvia if the law goes through? And
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that our government must keep the Russian education because Russians live here since ages. And
no, okay, that's true.
decades.
That's true. But
we want that the Russians have the same rights as the Latvians, but in our country that's impossible. You know, it's more like a Nazi Germany, like Germany is only for Germans and others
but
are Untermenschen. And so,
but I mean, but in Germany they do not have schools for the Turks. In America they do not have schools for the Spanish. They have bilingual education of some sort here and there. But
basically, bilingual education means that about 60% of all subjects must be taught and teaching in Latvian language
Yeah.
in Russian schools, and other 40% only for Russian subjects. You can include Russian language, literature, and
But isn't I mean, in one sense, the essence of a culture is the language and the literature and the history of, you know. So you have language. You have
Yeah.
people who are taught to speak proper Russian, modern
Yeah.
Russian.
Yeah.
You have kids who are taught the great writers of Russian literature, or even modern, whatever's going on in Russia, right? I mean,
yeah,
so you're not really. I mean, do you see that as a big loss if everything, if those subjects would still be kept?
yeah.
Those are not doing. Nobody's doing away with that.
Nobody cares. No.
So I mean, should you have children, or if you have children who are maybe not yet in school?
No, I don't have. My father, he also joined our protest marches.
No. So those children would know Tolstoy, Lermontov, all the, as well as anybody in Russia. They would be able to.
I finished Russian school about 2 years ago, and yeah, we're learning Russian literature, like famous writers like Tolstoy, Lermontov.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna take
By
that
the
away.
way, we're also learning Latvian literature.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah,
both,
that-
like bilingual, both.
Yeah. And I think most of the Latvian schools that teach world literature would also include the big Russians,
Right.
So I mean, I'm not trying to make an argument here. I'm just simply saying that I don't see that this is a big issue. I mean, if you're here because your father is worried, fine. But are you really worried? I mean, when you have children in a few years,
Yeah.
what school are you going to send them to?
I cannot hear very well.
Pardon?
I cannot hear very well.
What school are you going to?
What school?
Yeah, you're going to send them to a Russian or a Latvian school? Russian. Okay, so that's important for you. What is your name? Just your first name. I'm just going to writing an article for
Igor.
Igor. Thank you, Igor. I suspect you're about as old as my son. You must be early 20s, right?
Yeah, 20. I'm 20 years old.
You're younger than
Compared to other participants, yes.
Yeah, well, this is, as I said. Now, if they were chanting something about pensions, it would also look normal, Anyway, thank you.
Where are you from?
Here, Riga. I'm just an Latvian American. I'm a journalist.
I thought
What do they say?
the Russian schools must be existing.
Yeah. All right. So thanks to Igor, we know now that. Saying let the Russian schools be, leave them alone. Yeah, so they're chanting for the Russian schools. And various people come out and watch. Okay, thank you very much, Valdias.
Bye.
Bye. Some idea of the extent of this. It's not a big march, but it's not a small one either. And as I said, there are young people who think this is a reasonable cause. The one thing that I don't think we should bring up in this whole thing is to demonize anybody, to demonize these old Russian dudes and ladies for being here. This is what they think. A lot of them they're thinking will never change. But then there are these younger folks who might be persuaded that the educational reforms really don't threaten them or anybody else. So one thing, the drums at least keep this thing going. Yeah, and there, of course, leading the procession is the former European parliamentarian Janusz Danuta, who's come back to Latvia to. I will try to catch her later. She's got an important task of setting the pace for this. I'd ask her about what exactly is going on here. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. This is going to take maybe a bit longer than this is the St. George's banner or whatever it is. It's kind of a symbol of the Russian nation, although I don't really know where it came from. I would say the tricolor flag would be more like that, but you know, it's often difficult to make any sense of any of this stuff. And another grandparent, maybe even great-grandparents of the Russian school kids who were involved in this. And the chant of "Let's keep the Russian schools, go leave them alone," whatever that is, comes up again. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this broadcast, but I'll get back when they gather at the presidential palace and maybe interview a few people there and see what happens. So from now, this is Juris Kaja reporting on Facebook Live from Riga, signing off.